I'm gonna show you a couple different ways on how to cut a bell pepper. So the first way is just gonna take off the tops and the bottoms. Take off the top, take off the bottom, and then you run your knife along the side here, and just come through and roll your knife along the membrane, removing this membrane. Now this part, you do not need to dispose of this. Do not throw this away. Keep these. If you waste it, let's face it, you suck. Now at this point here, I like to cut them into workable sized pieces, and I can stack them on top of each other like so, and then just go ahead and run my knife through. Notice how the skin side is down. This is just gonna make it a little easier for me to cut. Boom, I'm gonna set that on my plate here. Same thing with these guys here, we just go through. Boom. Last time we took off the top and the bottom. This time what we're going to do is just take our knife and just cut into it and then work our way around the entirety of it, just spinning the bell pepper around. I don't like this way as much because it still leaves a little bit of this top intact as well as this bottom part, which is all usable waste or just usable for your recipe. So then you have to go back and kind of cut this part off, which is, to me, not the most efficient way to do it. Again, we come back, cut through, boom. So now we have this cut. It's just a little thicker julienne, whatever, up to you. The last way I'm going to show you how to cut a bell pepper is fairly easy. I think this requires the least amount of skill. We're going to start from the top, and we're going to curve our knife down and kind of curve it all the way to the bottom so that we go and hit that bottom base plate off. Do the same thing, work our knife around, boom. I do find this one to be the most efficient way to cut a bell pepper, and this is kind of how I would go about cutting it, depending on what I'm trying to do, actually. So yeah, we left a little bit of stuff in here, which I would trim this off anyways. This comes from membrane. We want to trim that off so we can get to maximize our flavor on our bell pepper, which you could do in like a lot of high-end restaurants. They'll get to this point, and then what they'll do is they'll kind of like trim it to make it flat. So they'll remove a lot of this excess membrane, which is not really excess. It's all edible waste, edible trim. And like you see here, there's a little bit like a rough part, not a rough part, but it's not clear. It's not super juicy. So what they'll do is actually remove that. So we're just running through and we're kind of removing as much of this membrane as possible. Not as much, but just a little bit of that. And then we're left with this like really nice like skin type of the bell pepper. And this is where I feel like all the flavor is. And if you really wanted to do the extra step, you would go through and remove the skin part. So you would just remove that inside membrane, and then you'd go through and remove the skin of the bell pepper, which is like, whoa, so what's left? Is there even anything left? Yeah, you remove the skin like this, which is kind of excessive, kind of obsessive, just like every chef that does this kind of stuff, right? So you can remove it like that. And then you're left with this like perfectly super maximized bell pepper flavor, which, you know, ultimately you just blanch in some ice water and use it as a garnish. Cool beans, bro. See what this looks like when you chop it up. And here you go, every single way to cut a bell pepper. If you learned something new, make sure you subscribe. Let's get you to love food more.